Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the most groundbreaking, controversial, longest running episodic wrestling series in YouTube history. Soon to be award winning, and dare I say, the most dedicated wrestling series in all of the internet sports entertainment community. It's the cream of the crop, the best of the best, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey, unbelievable, the most electrifying, and sometimes captivating. This is NoDQ&A video right here on the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate ringsidenews.com. How's that for an intro? Got your questions here from spring.me/AaronRift, and you can tell everybody in the comments section to skip ahead to 1 minute to get to the questions. First one today comes from Genetic Freak LOL. Where do you see the Elimination Chamber stipulation happening this year? I would say either SummerSlam or Survivor Series, since they have been its venue before the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Well, wherever you have the Elimination Chamber, I think it should be at a time when the stipulation can mean something and there's a purpose behind having the stipulation match. There should be a good storyline explanation for doing the Elimination Chamber. So whether it's Survivor Series or SummerSlam, shouldn't be just based off of the pay-per-view. It should be a pay-per-view where you need that stipulation and it plays into the storyline, whatever the storyline is. That's how it should be done with the stipulation matches. It's possible WWE will do it for Battleground because Battleground makes sense because of the pay-per-view name to do Elimination Chamber, but I'd rather WWE do that match when there's a good storyline reason to do it. And one would think WWE will do the match soon. It's been well over a year now since the last Elimination Chamber, and I'm thinking they'll do it for Battleground. That seems to make the most sense, and Battleground will need something. SummerSlam is SummerSlam. People will tune into SummerSlam because of the name. Survivor Series, you could make an argument for that because Survivor Series is a pay-per-view that has really fallen in importance over the years, and doing the Elimination Chamber could help elevate Survivor Series again. Whatever the case is, have a good storyline reason to do the Elimination Chamber. Alright, this one comes from Sergeant Pepper 96. Hey Aaron, with the Shield members eventually facing off for the title, what if they had the first ever 60-minute triple threat Iron Man match? I'd love to see them make history, and with 3 wrestlers, the endurance intensity of 60 minutes would be spread out. Well, that is a really interesting idea. I do not believe WWE has ever done a 60-minute triple threat Iron Man match. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not remember a triple threat Iron Man match in WWE history. That would be something different. I would be all for that. And I talked about in previous videos, how do you make a triple threat Shield match important when you're going to have a match at Payback with 3 guys in the match already, plus Randy Orton? By doing a 60-minute Iron Man match, that helps elevate the match and make it all that more important. I would be totally down with that idea, maybe doing that for WrestleMania 32, although by doing a 60-minute match, that does take up a lot of time on a pay-per-view, and a lot of guys will be left off the card unless WWE does a Battle Royal plus a 10-man tag team match, plus an 8-man ladder match, or whatever, to get as many people on the card as possible. But whether it's WrestleMania or another pay-per-view, I would definitely be up for seeing that match. I think that would be a good way to utilize the 3 Shield members in a triple threat match by making it a triple threat Iron Man match. Definitely a good idea. Alright, this one comes from WWE Fan 5. Hey Aaron, why do you think DLo Brown was the only member of the Nation of Domination to not really get anywhere after the group disbanded? Well, he did start getting pushed around late 98, early 99. Unfortunately, there was the incident with Draws where DLo messed up and Draws got seriously hurt. He got paralyzed. His wrestling career was over. And I hate to say it, but I think that was one of the major reasons why DLo lost his push. He never really got pushed strong again after that. And it sucks that something like that would almost ruin DLo's career, something that was a complete freak accident, but it is what it is, and I guess there were some hard feelings in the company about what happened, and DLo just was never the same again after that. And, it's unfortunate because I really feel that DLo was gaining a lot of momentum in the summer of 1999, and then after that incident, he basically lost his push, and the company never really invested a lot in him again after that. And maybe it was just because of all the negative publicity coming off of Owen Hart's death, and WWE just didn't want to draw too much attention to that situation, and by pushing DLo, that would get people talking about the incident more, and they just wanted to try to sweep it under the rug, and it was just unfortunate for DLo that incident, I think, really affected his career in a negative way. All right, this one comes from CM Spunk. Hey Aaron, who do you think is the biggest star that didn't live up to their potential? Well, when I think of guys in WWE history that had a lot of potential and never really got as far as they could have, I actually did a video on this a year or two back. The top names, Scott Hall, obviously, as Razor Ramon. The company was really high on him. He was a top star. I think that if he hadn't gotten into personal trouble, he would have been perhaps the WWE World Champion. And, he went to WCW and did the NWO. But if he had stayed in WWE and he was able to take care of himself, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, I think definitely would have been a world champion. And other guys, Ahmed Johnson was a guy that he came into WWE and everyone thought he was going to be a huge superstar, but he ended up being injury prone and he was hurting other people and things just didn't work out. He's a guy that had a great look for WWE, wasn't a great wrestler, wasn't a great promo, but he personified that badass role of a wrestler that you do not want to screw with. And he had the intensity and the look, and it just didn't work out. And Mr. Kennedy's another guy. Mr. Kennedy, when he came in, right from the beginning, I thought he was going to be a huge superstar. I just sensed it with him that he had something, and he was going to be a major star. And WWE did everything they could to make him a huge star. He won Money in the Bank, then he got hurt. They wanted to have him as Mr. McMahon's son. He got suspended. It was one thing after another with him, and he really has no one to blame but himself for the problems and the fact that he didn't get over at the level that he should have. WWE as a company really did everything they could for him. And then he came back after another injury and he hurt Randy Orton. And then they just decided to release him. They decided to cut their losses. Mr. Kennedy's a guy that should have been a much bigger star in WWE, and just it was one thing after another between injuries and getting suspended. Just hurt his career, and he never really reached his full potential. All right, this one comes from Kayfabe Candy Ass. With it being okay for Billy Corgan to book TNA, is it hypocritical for wrestlers to bitch when Smarks fantasy book because we are, quote, just fans? What makes Corgan more qualified than you or Jeff Meacham, for example? Because he's famous? Come on, so BS. Well, Billy Corgan has been involved with wrestling, doing his own promotions and his own wrestling projects. I think that, the only difference between Billy Corgan and the rest of us is he has money. I mean, if I had money, I could invest in a wrestling promotion. Anybody watching this video, if they had the money and the funds, they could start up their own wrestling promotion. So he really doesn't have all that much of a track record besides what he's been able to do on his own. And obviously he's been very successful with his music career and he can afford to get involved in wrestling. But he is a creative guy. I mean, he is a artist. He's a musician. He does have the feel for entertainment and knowing what people want as an entertainer. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He might be able to help TNA. He might have a different vision, and that's really what TNA needs. They need somebody with a vision. and somebody who brings something new to the table, not the same old thing that we've seen time and time again, relying on the same people from failed promotions. Bringing back Vince Russo, bringing back Eric Bischoff, that did not work. You need somebody new. You need somebody who can take the company in a new direction and come up with some fresh ideas, and someone who's willing to try different things. So Billy Corgan might be that guy. He might not be. Really hard to say at this point, but I'll give him a chance, and we'll see what he can do with TNA. It's going to take a lot to get TNA out of the jam that they're in, but maybe he's the one that can take TNA in a new direction and maybe reinvent the company. We'll have to wait and see. All right, this one comes from iMotaB92. Hey Aaron, when do you think we will ever see Vince McMahon getting involved in storylines again? Well, that's hard to say. I mean, the fact that he was originally going to be part of the Authority storyline and be involved in that, and he never ended up appearing on television. After the whole Daniel Bryan thing in 2013, he just disappeared and he was never brought back. I think it's just a matter of Vince's age, and there's no real need for him to be involved in a storyline at his age. And there's been a lot of speculation out there about Vince's health, and who knows what's going on with him. I'm sure he's fine, but at the same time, he's going to be 70 years old. Really no need to get him heavily involved in storylines at this point. I mean, it's not like he can do physical stuff anymore. So why bother? Why bother taking a risk with him at his age? Just not a wise idea. And you need to focus on new storylines and new people. And just bringing back Vince is it's just relying too much on the past. You got to look towards the future. I think that the days of the Mr. McMahon character being a regular person on WWE television, I think those days are over. Just how I see it, and it's probably for the best. All right, this one comes from Fastlane316. Hey, Aaron, longtime fan. Do you think Samoa Joe will make a surprise debut at TakeOver Unstoppable, or should WWE build up his first appearance with video promos? Well, I think depending on what happens with Sami Zayn, if Sami Zayn's out of action for a while, WWE might feel more of an urgency to do something with NXT and perhaps debut Samoa Joe sooner than expected. They could definitely bring him in as a babyface to feud with Kevin Owens. I would be totally cool with that. I think Samoa Joe should come in strong if he's going to be starting off in NXT. Have him show up out of nowhere, make it a surprise, and that'll get people buzzing about NXT, and it'll help create word of mouth and get people talking about the product. You could do video promos, but I would just like to see him come out of nowhere and attack Kevin Owens and set up a feud. That would be something to get people talking about NXT, and start him off on a high note. Once he debuts on the main roster, at that point, you could do video promos for him to build up his debut. I think that would be an effective way to establish him with the mainstream audience. But let's face it, the people watching NXT, almost all of them know who Samoa Joe is. So there's really no need to do the video promos. Just have him debut. But when it comes to the WWE mainstream audience, at that point, I think it would be better to do the video promos. All right, last question today comes from Gotham Coach. Hey Aaron, fourth time asker. With so many NXT superstars getting amazing crowd reactions and keep coming on Raw, do you see this year's traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5 elimination match being NXT superstars versus WWE superstars? I doubt it. I don't think WWE wants to make NXT an equal brand with Raw and SmackDown. I think the idea is to keep NXT as the developmental brand. They are expanding it. They're doing the house shows, and WWE's putting an emphasis on NXT, but I don't think they want the NXT guys to be portrayed as equals to the WWE stars on Raw and SmackDown. They want the NXT guys to be portrayed as rookies. So I do not see a repeat. It kind of sounds like a WWE versus Nexus storyline from 2010. I don't think WWE is going to repeat that. So I don't think that's really a good idea, and I don't think WWE will do it. I think it's best just to keep NXT the way it is and just, bring in 1 or 2 guys at a time instead of bringing in 10 guys at once like they did in 2010 with Nexus. I just don't see WWE repeating that whole scenario. So that'll do it for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for more.